You're listening to Real Talk Podcast with Steve Harrison, where he'll be talking about current events, finance, God, relationships, lifestyle, and health. So stay tuned, because Steve is going to bring that real talk on Real Talk Podcast.
Welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host, Stephen Harrison. My guest today is from Bridgeport, Connecticut by the name of Mr. Consul. He's a math teacher, writer, singer, rap artist. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Consul.
What's going on, Steve?
How you doing, Mr. Consul? It's been a minute, man.
It's been a long time, man. Long time, but it's finally glad to be here with you, man.
Yes, we've been trying to get this together for a minute, man. Just glad to have you in the building, man.
I'm definitely excited.
Before we talk about your career, I want to talk about you from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Tell us about how you grew up in Bridgeport and where did you grow up? What part of town?
I grew up in Bridgeport. I was born on the west side.
West
grew up
side.
in PT, and then my family moved to the east side. And, born and raised in Bridgeport, educated in Bridgeport. I love the city of Bridgeport. Now I teach in the city of Bridgeport. So that's one thing I'm proud to say, that I helped the community out that I came from. I think the biggest problem in communities like Bridgeport is that most people that become prominent leave the community, and so I wanted to be one of those to try to stay and help from within. Sometimes that's difficult, but I'm still in the fight, so we're here.
Okay, you said you grew up in PT. Talk to us about those days right there before we go into your career.
I was only in PT until I was about 8 years old. It was tough, That was definitely a tough time in the 80s. There was a lot of drugs running rampant, a lot of violence, going to bed sometimes hearing gunshots and cars streaking down the streets, but, I always had a good mother. I always had a good mother and a strong family background that kept us out of trouble. So that was the biggest thing for me, and that's the biggest thing I try to advocate now as an educator. You can't do anything without a strong family background.
That's right.
You have those kids, those diamonds in the rough that do make it out and do make big change, and that's a great thing. But the biggest thing in children's lives is, a strong family household, whether it's single parent or double parent, whatever. You got to have that foundation, because it sets up everything that's coming in the future.
Okay. Now, you said that you left at 8. Where did you go from at 8?
Well, we just went to the east side, moved to the other side of town, better side of town. Definitely was better for the family. But, I still always love my connection with both sides of the city. I love all parts of the city, and I think most of the city should be united. I don't want to really go into the east side, west side battles or whatever, but, I just think we need to be more unity in Bridgeport, and that's what I try to do through my music and, through education. Okay,
so as far as education, how did you decide that you wanted to become a school teacher?
I didn't figure that out until I got to college. When I first started, I went to South Carolina State University after I graduated from Central in Bridgeport.
Okay.
And I went down there to study law. And my first year, I just kind of had the mindset of the Perry Mason, Matlock kind of trial attorney. That was the vision I had, and then I saw that law was something totally different.
Okay.
And it just turned me off. It really did. I did well in the classes, but it was just something I couldn't see myself doing for 30 years. I feel like, it's a decent profession, but I don't know if it's always honorable.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest part of it. I think it's being exposed a lot more, things that happen in law, and that's just something I wanted to stay away from. Okay. And so I had always been working with kids, in summer camps and different things like that, and it just felt like it was the right thing to do. And I come from a family of educators. My mother's a teacher. I have an uncle who's in missions at UConn. I had another uncle who's on the board at MIT. My aunt's an educator / principal. All my great aunts were teachers.
God, you destined to be a teacher,
My sister's a teacher.
Oh,
my
my
cousin
gosh.
Laura's a teacher. So it's like in the family. It's really something that's in the family. So
yes.
It kind of came natural to me. And working with kids definitely came natural to me. So I felt like this was something I could enjoy doing. Even though the money might not be as great as being in the legal profession, I didn't make my decision based off money. Initially, I was, though. That's the thing. I was thinking about those dollars when I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
But, once I really got to school, I felt like I need to do something positive, not only for the community and for myself, and something I could have a clear conscience about doing for a good 25, 30 years.
So you're teaching 5th and 6th grade. What is it like giving back to kids that's younger compared to 10th and 11th graders, 12th graders?
I love working with kids. I definitely would love to work with 10th and 11th graders too. It's just when I decided, like, when you get certified, you know, I know when I got certified initially in South Carolina, it was kindergarten to 8th grade, but when I transferred up here to Connecticut, it was only kindergarten to 6. You can do K to 6 or 7 to 12. So you kind of got to make a decision. You can do both, I guess, if you want to, you know, stay in school that long and do both.
Yes.
But I felt like, you know, I could make an impact with the kids because a lot of times when they're in 10th and 11th grade, sometimes it's too late.
Yeah, they stuck in their
You
ways.
gotta get them. Yeah, you gotta get them early.
ways.
You gotta get to these kids early. Like I said, I was going back to the family. It's about the foundation. And so if you get with a kid that doesn't have a strong foundation, the best time to get them is when they're young. You
Yes.
know, to show them a positive side. You know, there's so many kids that don't see another side. There's so many kids from Bridgeport that don't see nothing but Bridgeport. Haven't left Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that some of the, you know, one of the richest counties in the United States is right in their backyard in Fairfield County. You know, if they were to just take a trip to see some of those houses and some of those businesses and the opportunities that are, you know, at their grasp, I think it would change their whole vision of life in general.
So what's the difference compared to when we was growing? We know the whole school system has changed. I mean, you know, you could spank your kids back then. The teacher could spank them. What are some of the other challenges that kids are facing? We know that bullying and all that, but what's some of the things that you have to deal with kids? You almost have to be like a parent.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
You do. You kind of got to be, you know, a mother, father, nurse, you know, psychologist, you know, a little bit of everything. And my biggest problem, I don't want to beat up parents, but that's the biggest challenge I see. You know, is so many young parents, you know, a lot of parents that have issues, and you know, to me, they just don't do right by their kids. And I think if you have that strong foundation at home, no matter where you go, you're going to be able to be successful. But there's so many kids that just don't have that good foundation. So, you know, they come to school, they follow the same rules that the other kids have to follow, but then they have to go back home.
Yes.
To the same situations where they're seeing things they shouldn't be seeing, experiencing things they shouldn't be experiencing. And that's what really makes it difficult. I think if all kids came from an even playing field at home, you see a big difference in a lot of these schools. You know, they blame the system. And the system does have its problems. You know, I have my issues with the system as well. But for kids, it's about that foundation at home. To me, I can't stress that enough because that's what gave me the ability to say no in a tough situation.
Okay, do you see more women or men at the school dealing with their children?
I do definitely see more women. It's definitely more women in the fight. I grew up in a situation where it was a single parent home. I think back in the 70s, early 70s, before affirmative action came around, you know, I think it was a plot to get the black man out of the home.
Okay.
You know, by taking away his job, taking away his wealth, and you know that broke down my family, broke down hundreds and thousands of families.
Yeah.
You know, by removing the father from the home and then introducing the welfare system.
Yeah, make the family weak.
Exactly, and that breaks the entire family down. So when you remove the father from the home, a lot of us are just being raised by our mothers, and a lot of men, young men, black, white, you know, Hispanic, they're growing up not knowing how to be fathers, not having a model of what a father should be. You know, I was lucky.
Confused.
Yeah, I was lucky because after my father left, we ended up moving in with my grandparents, and you know, so I had my grandfather.
Okay.
And I had some great uncles, you know, to have as positive role models. So I was lucky, you know, even though I didn't have a father, I still consider myself lucky. And I think that people that walk around with the stigma, I didn't have a father, they just building up an excuse for themselves.
Yeah, to do things that they have no business doing.
Exactly.
You know, just because you don't have a father, I mean, you got to go rob a bank.
You don't. And a lot of times that's not even what causes it. You know, but they fall back on that excuse.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up without a father. Yeah, that means you need to do better if you decide to have children. You know, but a lot of people don't see it that way. They just want to find a crutch so they can have an excuse for their laziness and inability to do something with their lives. And of course, we have challenges and people that hold you back. But if you work hard enough, you can get someplace most times.
Okay, when you said your father left, have you ever built up a relationship with him, or that was it once he left?
Well, I did. I mean, for the young age that I was, but once he left, you know, he would come back periodically, you know, to visit, but rarely. And then,
Okay.
you know, when I was 12, he passed. So,
Okay.
you know, I definitely was a void in my life, but it was replaced with so much other, you know, love.
Grandfathers
support.
and uncles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't fall back on that. And a lot of times, a lot of these young boys build up hate for fathers they never knew. And they don't even know why he left or why he did what he did.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to take a look from all sides to understand that, they just build up hate and resentment. And then they end up repeating the cycle.
Yes, and that's a bad thing. You repeat the cycle because
That's
it's
the
history
problem.
going on.
That's the biggest problem, is repeating the cycle. And that's what happens in our communities, is those negative cycles are repeated. And then they have the built-in excuse of what we didn't have, instead of focusing on what you do have. Like they always say, the glass half empty or half full.
Yeah.
It's your perspective. You
That's
know,
right.
life is all about perspective.
That's right. Now that we talked about your background, you know, as far as you growing up, now we want to know about what drew you into music. How did you get involved with music?
I always loved music. To be honest, I have to shout out my grandmother for that. Much peace and blessings to her. She passed away last year.
Sorry to
But
hear
she's the
about
one that first pushed me into music, because I always loved singing. I remember the only probably memory I have of being young at like 4 was sitting in the back of church.
Yeah, church.
Watching my brother and my sister sing in the children's choir.
You hear that?
I'm mad 'cause I
Church.
couldn't sing. Yeah, exactly. That foundation.
That's where it comes, the church.
Yeah, and so I would be mad back there. I want to sing in the choir. I want to sing. And then when I was 5, I was able to join the choir and sing.
Yes.
And then my grandmother started making me sing solos. Like once she heard
Okay.
my voice and heard that I could sing, she would push me out there to sing solos.
Was
I
you
hated
scared?
it. I hated it. Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. And I didn't want to do it. Like that was the biggest thing. I knew I could sing,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be the center of attention. That's never
Okay.
been my thing, is to be the center of attention. I don't even do music now for attention or for fame.
Okay.
I do it because I love it. So that's how I started singing, just singing in the children's choir. And then the thing about it was, it became a bad thing because people started asking me to sing so much, I started to hate singing. So I stopped
wow.
singing. I stopped singing from like 13 to 17.
A 4-year hiatus.
Yeah, and then my mother always said, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
Yes,
and I
that's
was
true.
singing one day, I was in college. I was singing to the radio like I would normally do, and I was listening to myself, and I was like, boy, you lost it. I sounded horrible, and
Oh
it
my
scared
God.
me. It scared me because
That's
I could
where you know where you
always
come from.
sing.
Yes.
Yes, I could always sing. And to hear myself, you know, when you singing like nobody's watching.
Yeah.
you know, you put a little extra into it.
Yeah.
I'm singing like nobody's watching, and still sounding horrible. So
Oh,
I was like,
gosh.
listen, I got to start all over. So that was, you know, when 90s R&B was out, early 2000s
Yes.
R&B was out, and I started listening to a lot of those artists, you know, Luther Vandross.
Yeah, that's some good music right there.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Luther
my
and
God.
Whitney, greatest of all time to me.
Yes.
You know, I love their voices, their confidence. You know, that was my biggest influences. Then they got the groups going, the Boyz II Men,
Yes.
the Jodeci's, Drew Hill, my personal favorite.
Boys
You
and
know,
Men.
Yeah, you know, those groups, you know, singing like, wanting to sing like Wanya, or wanting to sing like Cisco, man, that was, you know, that was it. You know,
Yeah,
when you
it
were a
was hot back
teenage
then.
boy.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was hot
man,
back
that
then,
was
man.
it. And
You get the
music-
girls listening to some of that.
Yeah.
Zoom,
And
zoom, zoom.
exactly. It was real love music. It took it to another level. I always appreciated the 50s and 60s and, you know, even some of the 70s and 80s. But that 90s
Yeah.
music, it touched something
It's
with
a
me.
changed the whole era, man.
Yeah.
Changed
so
the whole era.
back then, I never wanted to sing professionally. I just wanted to sing for myself. I
Okay.
really did. Like, that's all I wanted to do. Like, that's not all I wanted to do, but when I would sing, you know, it would just be for me. It wasn't to be on the stage. It wasn't to have a bunch of attention. It was just because I knew I could sing.
Yeah. So you said that you lost it. How'd you get it back?
Singing to those artists.
Okay.
Practicing like a lot of those artists, you know, that D'Angelo album,
Oh yeah.
Brown Sugar
Brown Sugar,
album.
yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my
God.
goodness, man, that's probably burnt up. That
I was
CD's
looking at
burnt
girls
up.
like, you know, you Brown Sugar, right?
That CD was burnt up. The Jodeci CDs.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just be singing to those songs all the time, and it's all about training. Like when you have the natural talent, it's just about the practice, and it's just because I wasn't singing. You
No
know, I wasn't-
lessons? You never had no lessons?
No, I never took any
Oh, wow.
lessons. You know, I always just did it from the heart. you
Okay.
know. And once you practice more and you hone your craft, like at first I started to sound like the Drew Hills. Like girls would be like, "Oh, you sound like, you know,
So what?
And that's because
I'm
I
trying
was
to
singing
get
like
you.
that. Yeah, but that's because I was singing their music, you
Yeah,
know, to
imitating,
train
you
myself.
imitating.
I was imitating
Yeah,
their music.
imitating.
I was learning and growing through them. And so it's like I could sing any style. You know,
Yes.
I can't do a whole lot of the falsetto stuff that some of these
Mhm.
guys do. But you know, I could try to sing. I could sing in so many different ranges. It was just, you know, I felt comfortable when I got it back again.
Mhm.
You know, and it wasn't trying to get it back to get on stage somewhere. It was just for my own personal, like I said.
That's a gift. You know, God gave you that
Mhm.
gift, so you just got to craft it and push it out
Yeah.
there. And I heard you sing a couple of times. I did some comedy. I was on stage and I saw you go up there, man. And you have a nice voice,
I
man.
appreciate it,
And you're
man.
very confident. That's what I love about you. You confident. You don't have an arrogance way about you when you're up on stage. You know.
Well, I take me out of it. That's the whole thing. Like, I
Mhm.
don't even really think about the people looking at me. I
Mhm.
just want people to enjoy the music. And when I first started going to open mics, it's because I started writing my own songs. My cousin Danny Williams, shout out to DJ D-Dub, he had opened up a studio with some friends, and a couple local producers were coming there and making some beats. And I started writing little songs to the beats, and they started sounding good.
Yeah.
So I was, you know, excited about it, and then that's what kind of sparked. Like when I got back from college and I was in grad school at University of Bridgeport, that's kind of what sparked it. And like maybe I could really do this because I wrote a couple songs and they were really good songs to me, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So I felt like, yeah, this is something I could really do.
Mhm.
So I started writing more songs, going to open mics. You know, in the process of still trying to become a teacher, trying to do it all at the same time. So. You know, it was definitely a tough road, and it still is. You know, I'm still in the fight.
But you're grinding. That's the beautiful thing.
Exactly.
You're grinding. Let's talk about your first album. What was your first album? Let's talk about that one.
First album, Awaken of a Sleeping Giant.
Waking Up a Sleeping Giant.
yeah.
Okay.
I
And why
named-
that title?
I titled it that because I always was slept on.
Okay.
People always sleep on my talent, ignore my talent, you know, and so I felt like I was a slept on kind of guy, and so the music was coming out of left field because
Okay.
even though I sang as a kid growing up, nobody in my close circles really knew me for singing
Mhm.
anymore because I had stopped. So it's like when I started coming up with these good songs, I was like, this guy hit people in the left field. So it's like awakening somebody after years of not singing and not doing something. It's like you woke up,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but he's a
You
giant.
better
He's gonna
listen
be
to
a
me.
giant. Exactly.
You better listen, pay
attention to what
attention.
I'm doing because this is something that's gonna be good. And
Yeah.
so that first album, probably my favorite. You know,
Mhm.
probably my favorite. Had a lot of good songs on it. You know, I put it out as a mixtape. You know, because I did have a couple industry beats on it. But most of it, Ash Rogers, I was privileged to meet and begin to work with. He did about 75-80% of that album.
Oh wow.
He did all the original beats that were on that project. He was able to do, and that was like my go-to guy. You know, I'm still
Okay.
working with him to this day. I don't just work with him like I did on that project,
Okay.
but you know, he definitely helped me get that kickstart with my songwriting.
Okay.
You know, it really did because of his the magic of his music is just incredible. So
Okay.
it kind of brought it out of me, you know.
So let's talk about your second album now.
Second album, I kind of did a live version of the first album. I got a live band. I ran into a great guitar player by the name of Mark Lyon.
Where's he from?
He's from Trumbull, I think.
Okay.
And he ended up, we met out at an open mic at Acoustic Cafe.
Been there.
Yeah, man, before it was all, you know, designed and new, and he heard me sing, he was like, I put a band together for you. And the very next week, he had a band put together for me, and we
Wow, look
rehearsed.
at the stage.
It
Smoke
was
just coming out the stage, man.
And once I got with a live band, it changed my life.
Yeah, and I
That
seen you
changed
live before. I seen you
everything.
live. It's like you know. it's
Yeah, and I
nice.
knew I would need something like that to open up my performance because it was cool performing the tracks and I would get good responses, but with the band,
That's
the
a total
live music,
different atmosphere, man.
it's nothing like it because not only, you know, is it the live sound, but you can control the music.
Yes.
And when you play with incredible musicians the way I did, Mike Palucci, Brenda Wolf, Mike Knobloch, you know, I played with some incredible musicians so they could adjust on the fly and they would follow me. They would know when I was going to extend the song. They would, you know, I could read the crowd and
Yeah.
I knew they want some
Yeah,
more of
just
this song. Let's
Going
keep it.
in on it. He's
Yeah.
going in like Maxwell, something.
For real. Because you got to read that crowd when you're on
Yes.
stage and you got to know.
Got to entertain.
You got to know when to give them more and you got to know when to get off. There's a lot of people that don't know when to get off. They stay
Yeah.
on there too long. Like, you did well. Like, get off while
Yeah.
people still like you, you
But
know.
don't church folk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, they don't know when.
One more time. We gonna go one more time. Jesus said. Jesus said. We know what Jesus said, man. Come on, sing another verse.
And church fans got to wave it back and forth.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, man. Get in there 11, get out 3:30.
Yeah.
You know?
And Jesus said, "Oh, we know what Jesus said."
Yeah, man. But that was a good training ground for me.
Okay.
You know, it definitely was. And that's a huge part of my humility as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's one thing I don't like about gospel music or church music, however you want to call it, is too many people now doing it for money.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one thing people used to always ask me, don't you want to do a gospel album, this and that? I'm like, I don't want to profit off the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you think you spreading the message or not, that's great, but most of the people that do it aren't doing it for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it to glorify themselves. You know,
Everybody's
they just
like,
really are. And I feel like you give of your gifts and your talents at church, you don't take. You know, and that's how I was always raised. And so, you know, the stuff I do in the secular world, that's, you know, that's what I do. You know, for my own personal, I don't do raunchy music. I don't curse in music.
Yeah, that's what I love about you too. You're very clean. Every time I see you perform, you're very clean. I try to do my comedy like that too.
Okay.
I mean, I know how to go to the edge, but I don't want to go over the edge.
Yeah.
So I, you know, because I know I'm grown now. You know, so I got, you know, people that I look up to, and I don't want to come on stage all nasty and like, you know, no, I want to keep it clean.
Yeah, and working with kids, I have to, you know, especially in the days of social media, YouTube.
Yeah, Mr.
They see
Counsel, the
everything.
teacher,
Yeah.
he cussed like my grandfather.
Yeah.
Grandpa, that's my teacher right there. That's the one that told me to stay in school.
Exactly. And so, you know, it's not just for that purpose. It's for mainly because I want to, you know, that's what I want to promote. I don't
Yes.
want to. I'm not gonna say that I'm perfect and I do everything perfect behind closed doors, but it's like it's what you project, you know, to people. What you give off to people is what they take in.
Yes.
You know, and so it's not that I don't want to be real. You know, I just want to be right.
Yeah, I got you.
And there's
I
a lot
got
of people
you.
that don't want to be right. You know, you want your mother, your grandmother to be able to listen to a song. You
That's
walk in
my
the room.
Grandson.
Exactly.
That's my
but now
grandson.
we got to turn the channel, and then some. They don't even turn it now. They got grandma in the back now, 35, cheering baby on.
Do this, thank you, leg. Come on, Grandma, sit down.
Exactly. And I'm like, come on, man. Like it's like I think we got to do better. We have to do better
we have
as
to.
people.
We do. We really do. Because
We're
we're
all
promoting negativity, and we want to promote positivity.
And I think we've gone too far. Like, you know, artists want to be real, but I think you go too far with it, using the N-word excessively when it's not necessary. That's not you being expressing yourself.
Well, you're doing it for mainstream.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes
you being
get
ignorant.
caught out.
Yeah.
You get caught out. But everybody has their, you know, they got to do what they got to do. Don't mean that it's right. Like, you're going to do what you got to do. I'm going to do what I got to do.
True.
So I'm not throwing no salt. I'm just saying for me.
Exactly.
And you saying for you, we're not going to promote negativity.
And that's my whole thing. And other artists, I do shows with artists that do those things, and I don't mind. I love a lot of their music, so I definitely don't want to throw salt in the game. I just want to be that advocate for doing better sometimes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Let's talk about your third album. The second album, did they have the same name, or you changed it?
No, third album was
the second album.
The second album was Love School, the Black and White Project.
Now,
everything is available.
Why was that title on that one?
I titled it Love School because I wanted to teach people about love again. I feel like, you know, R&B is lost now. You know, even the R&B that comes out now, a lot of it is raunchy, and we don't have any classic love songs anymore. And so that's really why I wanted to do Love School. I'm kind of like schooling people, and I did the whole black and white thing because I was a black artist, I had a white band. You know, it's the fusion of races. You know what I mean? I want people to understand that music is universal.
That's why I want to know what your
universal.
titles are about, because I want people to understand where you're coming from, where your heart is at. So they be like, why did he call it that?
Yeah.
Tell them. You know, that's why I want them to know that.
Definitely. But I did it for the purpose of music and love being universal. That's why I called it the Black and White Project, because both extensions of colors are black and white, both extremes. Of colors, black and white, and we meet somewhere in the middle. You know? And so I felt like Love School, I'm not teaching people about love, but teaching people to talk about love and experience love the way it used to be felt. You know, a lot of times with the Tinder era and all these, you know, hookup sites that they got. You know,
Oh,
people
my
are
God.
losing a lot.
Yeah.
You know, in the aspect of love, and so I just want to remind people that there's still artists out there making music like that.
Okay.
You know?
Since we lost so many great artists. You know.
Yes.
Now your third album, what's the name of that one?
Third album, that's the one I'm working on now, and it's called Better Man. I have a video, I have a title song, I have a song for that out right now on YouTube. It's out on all platforms, you know, Tidal, Apple Music, you can find it anywhere. But this is my project where I've really found myself as an artist.
Okay.
I've always done some hip hop in my early music, but with this project, I'm really expanding that side of myself. I'm doing a lot of singing. I'm doing a lot of hip hop on this project, and this is where I think this is going to be my masterpiece of everything I've done so far. I really do. I love this music. Everything is different. You could play one track and then you play the next track and you wouldn't even know it was me. You know, everything.
I seen one of your
different.
videos. I'm like, yo, that is hot. I'm like, you know, that was hot.
I think that was that Beast Mode video we shot
Beast
last
Mode,
summer.
man. That was hot. I was like, is that my boy? I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, you know, I rewind it again and listen to it. I'm like, you guys really put a lot of work into it. You can see that you didn't take no shortcut on that.
Definitely. My boy C-Bug, Just Juan, Ever Wonder. You know, those are three of the best MCs I know around here. And I always wanted to do a collaboration hip hop track. I always saw those, you know, growing up, like Self-Destruction, you know, way back in the day. You know, but I love, you know, collaboration hip hop tracks. You know, when Method Man and Redman came out together, they did something like their music was magic, man.
Yeah, that was, man.
Yeah, man, Wu-Tang, you know, collaboration hip hop. So I wanted to do that, so I pulled together three of the best MCs I knew and put us on one track, because that would not only help promote me, but it would help promote them. And
you smashed it, man.
Yeah, just so they could see that there's some real lyricists out in Connecticut, because Connecticut gets played. Like, when I went to college in South Carolina, you from Connecticut, they always think about Tony Danza and Who's the Boss. Like,
oh, God. Fairfield, Westport.
Exactly.
And we love Fairfield and Westport.
We do. We
love
do,
it.
But that's not the only kind of Connecticut. You know? That's not the only side to Connecticut.
Bridgeport?
In the house.
Yes.
So, you know, definitely that definitely was crazy for me.
Let's give a shout out to Wasan. He's opened up for that video too.
Yes. Wasan Jackson.
Comedian Wasan, you know.
I started throwing shows with Jackson back when I first put that first album out, man. Big shout out to Wasan Jackson. I love that boy to death. We started doing shows together.
I did a couple of shows with him too.
Yeah, I was privileged to be able to do some great shows because of him. You know, we went on a little road trip all the way down to Atlanta together. We stopped in Baltimore, we were in Charlotte, we were in Atlanta, doing a string of shows that talent hooked up for us. And you know, he's an incredible talent, incredible local talent, and I'm blessed to have known him, to know him, and to continue to do work with him. I definitely want to do some more work with him in the future, because comedy, I'm a real silly person.
Welcome to the club. That's what I do. Real talk. I'll crack a joke in a minute.
Yeah, man. I would never want to be a stand-up comedian, but comedy is my life, man.
I love stand-up, man.
I love being funny. Like, I was always silly as a kid, as a teen. Even now, as a grown man, I'm just silly. So it's like Martin's my favorite show. Oh, I watch Martin every night before I go to sleep.
Who don't like Martin? If you don't like Martin, you don't understand comedy.
I'm telling you, man, and I learned so much from him. So one day I would love to be like in a comedy movie or sitcom and like do some acting.
You'll fit in that.
Be funny. I know I could at some point. I know, because I've studied comedy for years. Like I said, I never would want to be a stand-up. But I can definitely appreciate comedy, man. That's in my heart, even just as much as music. It really is. It really is.
Now, how did you transfer from R&B to hip hop? How was that transition there?
Well, hip hop has always been around. I actually, when I first started writing songs, I really was writing hip hop songs. I had a couple of my best friends in college, Stafford Brown and Keith Herrera.
Who did you study? Like you said, R&B, you studied Luther Vandross. On the hip hop artists, who did you study to like imitate them?
Nas and Busta Rhymes, man.
Oh, man.
And those are two different ends of the spectrum, but those are my two favorite artists. And I break it down because Nas, as far as lyrical content,
knowledge,
but Busta Rhymes is the art of the rhyme. You know, there's nobody that can rhyme as many different styles and as well as
and
he
fast.
can.
I'm like, I'm like,
he can do it all, and I think he gets left out of that GOAT conversation. It gets on my nerves so much because he's contributed so much to hip hop.
To the game, yes.
Yeah, man, I would love to do a track with Busta Rhymes, man. Like, and he was always the one. Whenever you heard a track back in the '90s, when he was on it, you waited for his part.
Yeah.
You waited for Busta Rhymes.
That's right.
Part.
That's right. You was
everybody. And then now they want to act like he's just, you know. I don't want to say they're acting a particular way. Let me not say that.
Like he's
I just think he's
out.
Underappreciated. I think he's
like
very
he's played
underappreciated.
out. It's like Busta Rhymes.
Yeah.
But he contributes so much.
Oh yeah.
And he contributes so much.
To me, like what Nas has done musically, I think even though he might not be the most celebrated artist, I think he's accomplished the most as far as growth as an artist. Like with the Untitled album that he had. Like, that's what a 40-year-old rapper should sound like. Okay. Like the political content that was on there, the community content that was on there. People sleep on that album.
Yeah.
You know, they always say he picks bad beats, but that album is where you should be mentally as a 40. If you're a 40-year-old rapper still rapping about the street, it's a problem to me. That's a problem. Not saying that you can't rap about the street, but you should be talking about it in a different level from where you were talking about it when you were 25.
Like, where's the growth at? That's
exactly, and that's what I want to see. And like, to me, it's nobody who's grown more as an MC than Nas. I mean, he was already good coming in. Yes. We all know that. But I'm just saying, to see where he took it, that's to me what a 40-year-old MC should sound like.
Who are some of the artists that you open up for? I spoke to you earlier. You said some of the artists you open up for.
Yeah, I had the privilege of opening up for Bell Biv DeVoe, opened up for Talib Kweli a couple times, opened for Bob Marley's band, The Wailers, John B., a whole slew of comedians. You know, especially dealing with Jackson, we were able to open up for so many different people. It's just been a privilege, you know, to see so many artists and to feel like you belong.
Yeah, you're fitting in. Your craft is coming.
Exactly.
You're grinding, but your craft is growing.
Yeah, and I just feel like I belong on the stage with those level of artists. You know, I've been doing it almost as long as some of them have been, just under, you know, behind the scenes, you know, really not out there. But it just is a good feeling to see, you know, that you can hold your own on the stage with artists of that caliber. You know, and so that's really probably been the biggest blessing for me throughout this music.
Okay. Before we close, I want you to tell people, the audience, how can they reach out to you? How can they get your music? And give them a last word of inspiration.
Well, yeah, you got my government name on Facebook, Charles Council. That's how you can catch me there. I'm at Quality Council. Quality with a C, not a Q. It's kind of a play off my initials. So I'm at Quality Council on Twitter. We got Mr. Council Music on Instagram. We got Quality Council on YouTube. Like I said, we dropped the new video last summer. We dropped the Beast Mode video.
Killed
then
it.
This past fall,
They killed it.
Yeah, this past fall we I dropped the Better Man video, and coming up, hopefully within the next month or two, I'm gonna be dropping another one called My Turn, and I can't believe it. So I'm gonna just every 2 to 3 months, you know, I'm gonna keep coming with a new song, a new video. And then, you know, when I feel like it's time, then I'll drop the Better Man album. Like, I feel like it's no point to drop it right now, you know, until I can find that single, you know, that people really can gravitate to.
You want it to come out
right
in your face. Bang.
Yeah, I want people to say, oh, I know that song, that's Mr. Council. Like, you know what I'm saying? When I start getting a little bit more of that, you know, then I'll go ahead and drop an album. But I think a lot of local artists, you know, do themselves a disservice by just continuing to just drop music. Because to me, I know my music is good enough to be out there. Like, some people may need to go through 80 songs to get 10 good ones. If I write 10 songs, it's 10 good ones.
Wow.
And see, that's how confident I am as a writer. Even if I don't ever make it as a performer, if you want a good song, you can find me. I'll get you a good song.
And so get you a good song.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Whether it be R&B or hip hop, you know, country, you know, I can write to any style. And so I stand on that even more so as my talent as a singer or a hip hop artist. You know, I love that pen. You know, it's nothing like it. And, you know,
You dedicated, man.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you for allowing me to come up here and, you know, tell my little story.
Oh, definitely. We go back, man. We go
And
back,
you better
man.
get on that stage
That's
soon
right. We go
yourself,
back.
man. Don't
That's
give
right.
up that comedy because you keep a joke in your back pocket, man.
Oh, my. And the front pocket. I'll tell a joke in a minute.
Exactly.
Let me tell you why I don't like my grandmother.
See, he got one right off the
I
cuff.
don't like her for one reason.
But now you always been a special dude, you know.
Yeah, I
and
try,
that's
man.
why
I try to get
appreciate
back,
it.
man. I try to get back, man. So that's why I want you here. So 'cause I know me and you got history,
Definitely,
good
man.
history.
Definitely.
So I can't have
Great
negative history around me, man. So I definitely want you to talk to the audience, man, and just let them know about you, man. You
Yeah,
know?
and I want to come back and bring my group because I'm in a new group now called Stars and Beyond. SOBs.
Okay.
We're performing tonight actually at Cafe 9 in New Haven. And this is also allowing me, even though I do hip hop and R&B in this group, it challenges me as a hip hop artist.
It's stretching you.
Yeah, it's bringing the best out of me lyrically.
Okay.
You know, it's like I say it probably about a year or two, I'll stand on my hip hop just as strong as I do my R&B.
Okay.
You know, that's how much I'm working at it, working at the craft. You know, I don't try to, you know, I don't always want to come off saying I'm the best or want to be the best. You know, I just want to be one of the best because there's so many great artists out there. You can't really judge who's the best.
No,
It's
you
just your
can't.
favorite.
That's
It's just
right.
your favorite.
That's
That's
right.
it. It's no best. It's your favorite.
Yeah, and not every album has 10 hits on it. Sometimes it's only 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So
And I also want to encourage, like you said, leave them with a word. I want to encourage all the youth, all the kids to fight for your dreams, no matter what. You know, do something in life that you're going to enjoy. Don't go after the money. Money's nice and money's important, so I'm not going to say don't go after that because you need to go after that. But make sure it's coupled with something that you really love doing. If that's the legacy I want to leave.
and do it with your heart.
That's it.
Do it with your heart.
Always.
Thank you for watching us on Real Talk. You can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Got my boy here, Mr. Consul. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Real Talk.
You can reach out to Steve at realtalk877@gmail.com, Instagram and Facebook at Real Talk with Steve Harrison.